Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Cronin Law Show. I'm your host, Sabrina Shaheen Cronin, and I have with me my esteemed colleague and partner, Hugh Woodrow. Good morning, Hugh. How are you?
Hi, Sabrina. Awesome. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. And we're so excited. We think that we're going to have Jim Runestad, who is the 15th Senate District of Oakland County Senator. And I'm excited to speak with him about a bill that he has been passionate about. But before we do that, I wanted to talk with Hugh today, and of course with our viewers, about just how difficult it is sometimes to navigate through different cases and the laws and facts. And it's not always the fault of a lawyer, right? If things don't go the way that we hope and want for our clients. Hugh and I have been embattled in gross with a major custody battle post-judgment, and it's been difficult to say the least. We have a very difficult opposing side. We have a very difficult opposing attorney. They're not willing to bend on anything. There could be a question of some mental illness involved, and it's very difficult. And when you have the court, who is essentially a stranger to the facts, it makes it even more difficult. You know, Hugh, can you talk to our viewers a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I said, it's been a contentious situation that we've been dealing with on this one. And even though, because we're so involved in the case and we know the details as well as we do, it's difficult explaining to the client that despite the fact that we put together what I think are extremely good pleadings and lay the case out very well, the judge ruled against us on some things, ruled in our favor on others. But in the part she ruled against us, even, you know, we are shaking our heads thinking, how can the judge even think that? And, you know, I had a long talk with the client trying to explain to them, look, you know, I understand you know the opposing side. We know the opposing side. We know the opposing attorney and the other individual on the other side and the issues that person's facing. But this judge, unfortunately, doesn't know them as well as we do. And she has to, meaning the judge, take what they're saying at face value, just like they have to take what we're saying at face value. And obviously our job is to present evidence to try and sway them to our side, but it's not always easy. And, you know, when a judge kind of hangs their hat on an issue, it's usually very difficult to get them off of that particular point and to, I mean, we were basically trying to get her to reverse an earlier decision she had made on a particular point within a judgment, and she wouldn't do it. And I still think it was the wrong decision. I really do, but that's the judge's opinion, and she's wearing the black robe, so you can't argue too much.
Well, and that's why I impress upon all of our clients and our viewers that it's so important to make sure you understand the terms of a judgment before you agree to it. And most lawyers are very well-intentioned. They really work hard for their clients, and they try to predict every contingency, but sometimes it's so difficult. And in our case now, we're representing our client post-judgment on a matter that had already been, you know, decided and agreed upon, seemingly agreed upon with the parties. And now, you know, our client now comes to us when a different attorney had handled the underlying matter. And it's very hard. And now we see that the judge is ruling based upon the contents of the judgment. And you know, we can't stress enough to our clients, it's very hard to change things and to change the course unless you have the situations and the circumstances that warrant it. And we're trying to prove that. And it's just very difficult. So anyway, I see that our guest is now possibly joining us. And but before we get to Mr. Runestad, you know, just a point or two, a takeaway, Hugh, that you can talk to our viewers about that a little bit, I think would be very beneficial.
Like you said, the best thing to do is make sure that that judgment, especially if it's a consent judgment you're entering into, is as clear as humanly possible. And even if you think it is stupid clear, make sure it's in there. I mean, in this particular case, like one section of the judgment kind of says one thing, another one says something different. And taking it as a whole, I think we should have won our argument. But when you bifurcate the different parts of the judgment out, because this part wasn't stated up here, it made for that ambiguity in that question. And it doesn't matter, the one our client says, well, that was not our intent. We intended it to be this way. Great. If that's the intent, then it really needs to be spelled out in the judgment. I mean, even if you're being repetitive and it sounds so mundane and so logical to you, you got to have it in there.
Yeah. And we can talk forever about this topic, but I want to get on to some more exciting things today. We're so pleased and honored to have Mr. Jim Runestad joining us. And he is, for those of you who do not know, he is a senator here in the 15th Senate District of Oakland County. And that is a county that represents Novi, West Bloomfield Township, Commerce Township, White Lake Township, Lyon Township, Walled Lake, and most of Northville. And I'd like to talk to him today, and I have Hugh here with me continuing to talk as well, about a recent bill that was passed in the Senate providing peace of mind to families of nursing home residents. And he's also sending a suicide commission bill to the governor. So without further ado, I'm so excited to bring to you Mr. Jim Runestad. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, and also for taking up these issues that I'm sure many of your viewers would have a great deal of interest in with what's happening here in our state and nation at this point.
Well, I appreciate your time. I know you've been extremely busy, especially the past few weeks. And Senator, if you would tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and how you came to be in the Senate, in politics.
Well, I was raised on a farm in Goodrich, Michigan, and decided I wanted to become a school teacher. My parents were both school teachers, and went to Central Michigan, got a teaching degree, couldn't find a job opening way back then. It was very difficult. Went into insurance, spent most of my career in insurance. And in my mid-30s, my dad heard me complaining about politics, and he said, "You're complaining, but you're not doing." And driving home, I said, I guess he's right. So I got involved with the Republican Club, later became the president of that, then ran for county commission, won that, served 6 years in the Oakland County Commission, ran for the state house, won that, two terms, ran for the state Senate. I'm in my almost the end of my second year in the state Senate, and although it has its challenges, I really enjoy doing things like we're about to discuss, which is my passion, and that is getting legislation through that really makes a difference for the people of Michigan. Well,
we're so glad that you are doing that, and that your father, convinced you to take action. And most of our fathers are there to, spur us along and encourage us. And I think that's wonderful. So I know you've been really passionate about helping residents in nursing homes, and tell our viewers a little bit about how that came to be and why.
Well, it began with back when I was in my first term. I was hearing about cases of abuse in nursing home, and I went on YouTube and I saw there were literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. I used my phone to just scroll with my finger going through them all. And I watched 3 or 4 of them, and I was so revolted I simply could not watch another. I couldn't believe what I saw. People that were beaten, an old veteran suffocating while 2 workers laughed. They couldn't figure out how to work the oxygen machine, and then lied about all of the testimony, what happened, but it was captured, a hidden film. And what I found out is that in 5 states, the state requires nursing homes to permit a family to put in a video camera to monitor things. And the other states, if you have a hidden camera, which people are doing this all over the state of Michigan, all over the nation, they're putting in hidden cameras in order to find out their loved one's been abused. They hear a story that doesn't seem consistent, so they want to capture these things. That is not, as your lawyers and the Attorney General said, typically is not going to be admissible if you have an illegal camera that you have put in a room. So this bill is to make those legal, to require the nursing homes to permit those families that want these cameras and the patient wants these cameras to put them in. You have to get permission from anyone else in the room. If you don't get the permission, you can't put it in. You have to post. That was kind of, I heard the elder law section didn't like posting that. I think they're kind of moderated on that now. But in order to get it through, it was required that we post that there is a camera running in the room. The families will fund the cameras. There's a lot of privacy provisions put in this. There's what's called the Minnesota model. All of the activists, the ombudsman, everybody felt that the Minnesota model was the most effective, the best for patients. So we're using their forms as a sign-off. That was what we had to do in the committee in order to get it through, was agree to use that form, which I like anyway. In fact, anyone who is wanting more protection, I was already there anyway. It was just trying to get a balance to make sure we got it through. The other big hiccup was whether to do audio. There was a lot of resistance from the nursing homes in terms of having audio. The 5 states that have these bills that are now laws, they all have audio. The Attorney General said if you don't have audio, there's no way for us to know if somebody is saying, hey, Mrs. Johnson, run your mouth one more time. I'm dumping you out of the wheelchair. I'm going to let you fall into something. And then it does. And without audio, it just like, well, this kindly staffer is helping Miss Jones. Oops, he lost his grip, and now she smashed into something. Well, you have the audio, you find out, well, it's not an accurate depiction from just the video. So I was agreeing with the audio anyway. Finally, we have got everybody agreed, everybody on board. It was this has been a 4-year endeavor for me that has been work grouped. If we move 1 inch one way or another, we lose people. It is as good as this bill is going to possibly get. And it passed unanimously out of Judiciary Committee, and it passed unanimously off of the floor of the Senate, is now in the House. I'm trying to see if we can't get a quick hearing, because it'll pass unanimous out of the House. It would just get us the hearings. And it's just a matter of, they're very busy now. There's all the elections and all these things going on. It's very busy. But I would love to have a hearing that your listeners could advocate to their state representative to vote on behalf of this. And then, as importantly, the governor. I believe it will get a vote. It will be unanimous. It's going to go to the governor. The governor and I have not always agreed on things pertaining to the nursing homes. I hope we are in agreement on this, but it doesn't hurt for them, your listeners, to call the governor's office and advocate to pass Senate Bill 77, the nursing home videotaping bill.
Well, Senator, it doesn't seem as though that there should be any reason not to pass it if there are so many requirements and policies and procedures that must be adhered to in order to have the camera in place. Like you said, the notices, everything else that is required, and it's great that both sides of the aisle have agreed and have passed it unanimously. Was that difficult to achieve?
You have no idea. If the COVID virus had not hit, it never would have passed. People don't understand that a good idea that the populace could be 90% in support of could easily be defeated by money in the political process. I find money is the biggest problem that we have in the political process, because a small, infinitesimal number of well-funded individuals or groups could come in and wipe out great legislation. It happens all the time. I have a ballot proposal that you can all vote on for on November 3rd. It's a proposal 2 that will require a warrant requirement for police to access a person's electronic data and communications. That passed unanimous out of the House when I put it in the first session of the House, and never got a hearing in the Senate. The next session, put it in again, unanimous out of the House, never got a hearing in the Senate. Actually got a hearing in the judiciary, passed unanimous, and then was died on the Senate floor. Got it through in the Senate, unanimous, couldn't get a vote initially in the Senate, finally got that, and on the last day, almost the last vote that it could possibly be gotten to get on the ballot, I finally got it through. It took 6 years for something that I knew was going to be unanimous across the board. I knew that people will support this overwhelmingly. You have no idea the fight it took to get this. I mean, some of the stuff that's common sense, you fight like a tiger to get through, and some of the stuff that you think, who in the hell did that? It rockets through, and we have unintended consequences. So it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hugh, do you have any questions relative to that?
Going back to the Bill 77, I know that the SEIU had opposition to it to begin with, and the workers' union in the nursing homes. Are they fully on board with it now, and is it because of the COVID that got them on board, or what? Because I know they opposed quite a bit in the past.
Yeah, they a lot of the complaints they had didn't resonate with me, that it will erode trust between the worker and the patient. My mom was in a nursing home for a year. She had wonderful caregivers. I think the only ones that really would have a concern are these disordered individuals, and there's in every part of society, in every profession, there's personality disordered individuals who you don't want to trust in any capacity. Sometimes they could be a sociopath. They are the most charming, wonderful people on the surface you've ever met. They're unflappable. They just seem like pillars of society. Get them alone with somebody, and you can't believe what they're capable of. That's the kind of thing that we want to make sure doesn't happen. I think they finally realized that. I think the more likely case is that you're going to have a person who has a mental incapacity, and they're going to say, that Spafford just hit me in the face, and they called me these names. They look at the video, well, she's having another bad day, because none of that happened. I think that's more likely to protect the staff than anything else. But it's on these, I would say, rare cases that you have these horrific individuals, or if the nursing home isn't doing proper due diligence, and like they put that MMA fighter who had all kinds of mental issues in with that 77-year-old veteran, and he beat him and he later died. That went national. That's the kind of thing that we want to make sure that these things are just not going to happen. Our elderly are the most vulnerable people in general. Right now, I've never seen the elderly go through a worse time. They're isolated, they're alone. I've been to nursing homes, and the other patients have told me they know friends of theirs died from sheer isolation, depression. If you're up there in the years and you can't see your kids, your grandkids, you oftentimes have absolutely nothing to live for, because your health is horrible, you're in pain. You depend upon those relationships, and to be denied that is.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Senator. It's difficult. I know, and we empathize and sympathize with all of those viewers and our friends and family who do have loved ones, and it is hard to see them. And for the loved ones and the elderly in those situations, it's hard. It is isolating, and that's why. This the shut-in and the stay-home orders are so tough, and it's not easy. And I can understand why there are some dissensions among how our governor is handling certain things relative to the nursing home residents and the senior assisted living homes and the group homes. And while perhaps it can be argued that the governor is well-intentioned, I think the ramifications and the consequences are just not getting the proper attention and the proper respect and the proper follow-through that they deserve. The consequences are far greater and are outweighing the ramifications, in my opinion, of what COVID-19 is doing, and and how it's affecting this population. And so I think there is a balancing test in life in so many areas of not only just life, but law and legislation, as you see with trying to pass these bills. I mean, there's always a balancing test in courts. Hugh and I, before you got on, we were talking about some of these cases that we see where the judges, have to have this balancing test. And sometimes it's mind-boggling what they rule. And I can imagine trying to pass a bill. It's mind-boggling how some can get through so easily and others, it's a fight for years. But I think people are missing the balancing test here. And, Senator, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something that I was not aware of. I sat on the county commission and I didn't see the difficulty that you go through when you get into a state legislature. By the way, I think they're probably all pretty much the same. Congress is pretty much the same. That you go in with this idea that I have these things that I believe that the vast majority of people are going to support. That it's common sense, and you talk to people, you find it has overwhelming support. Then you start working with the system, and you find out how many powerful influences there are, just undercurrents all over the place that will undercut you. And you find out you get stopped and stymied here and there, and you think this is something that's going to make such a difference for people here in the state of Michigan. I was just all morning on a dyslexia package, and I know we don't have time to get into that. It's the exact same thing. We're the worst in the nation on dyslexia, at the absolute bottom of the barrel. Our fourth grading, bottom of the barrel. This has been going on for 40 years, and trying to change that is like trying to turn a battleship. It is. And every one of the people who are experts in dyslexia agree this is terrible. We need to change it. And you deal with the Department of Education trying to get this changed. But this is what goes on whenever you are tackling something that has immense power on the opposite side. Sometimes the power that is serving the interests of a few, sometimes financial interests. Try to fight that. It is an awesome undertaking.
What are you trying to do relative to dyslexia in the schools?
We have virtually nothing in our schools for dyslexia. If you get an IEP, you have to test in the lowest 9th percentile or lower. And these are often students who maybe didn't get reading at home, but they don't have a learning disability. So most of the kids who have dyslexia are, above average or above average students. So they don't get an IEP. You have to be in the lowest possible percentile to get help in the state of Michigan. Michigan is one of the few states that do it this way. Other states test every student for dyslexia, and they have intensive help. Michigan has absolutely nothing for dyslexic students, and that's why we're at the bottom of the barrel. So we have a whole dyslexic package we rolled out. It's being looked at now by the Department of Education. I was on the phone, like I said, all morning long with people, experts, PhDs on this, and we're thinking, what is it going to take to make change? I mean, the inertia, and I'm not even going to get to all the comments that I was told about why this is happening. I'm not going to mention that all on your show, but it is mind-blowing. The stuff that all the same stuff we were just talking about, like everyone who would look at this is going to agree if they can look at it, if they can have input, but just a small sliver of, sometimes it's vendors who are making millions and millions of dollars on selling stuff that doesn't work, but money's flowing. And it's this kind of stuff that you fight and fight and fight. If you're trying to get something is good, everyone agrees is good, and you can't get it through, there's an old phrase, follow the money, and I unfortunately find that to be the case.
It's incredible, really, when you're just trying so hard to help people, and you get stymied and paralyzed everywhere you turn. I know you're actually now, having some efforts with respect to bullying, and I know October, one of the many different types of months. We have October. We have a lot of things in October. We have Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but we also have a Bullying Awareness Month now, and in October. And you have really put some great efforts into that. Can you talk to our viewers a little bit about what you've been doing relative to bullying?
Yeah, one of the first things that I worked on when I was in the House was trying to put together a suicide prevention commission. Of all the things that can happen in your life, you can go through adversities. Every one of us have that. It's the human condition. You're going to go through adversities, disappointments, depressions, every single person. But a person who commits suicide, they feel that today is so bad and all my tomorrows will be as bad or worse than today. Most of us think this is a bad day and tomorrow's going to be better. They have so many bad days. It could be due to clinical depression. It could be something like very often losing a job that oftentimes lead to losing a family. Then the person feels absolutely worthless. The biggest problem we have in America and in Michigan are middle-aged males that live in rural areas are about 70% of all of the suicides, but it's growing. And I think that again goes to lack of losing their job, not being able to get another one, identifying as a provider, and oftentimes it loses the family. The children are also an exploding category of suicides. And I went to a seminar that went through what's happening with children with social media. The average parent would not have a clue. They could not imagine. And it's really impacting girls more than boys. Boys use social media a lot of times with sports and games and stuff. The women, it's all social, and are the girls. And oftentimes they are attacking each other viciously. And unlike when I was in school, and maybe when you were in school, there was no social media. So maybe you got in a little spat with this person or that person. Now the spat can be the whole, all the girls in the school or a substantial number. And the bullying is beyond anything that we ever experienced in school. So it's a terrible problem. Our Suicide Prevention Commission did pass. It did get signed by the governor. These are volunteers. We had so many people from across the spectrum wanting to be involved with this. Me or my staff is on every one of these calls. We're trying to make sure that we're going to get to real solutions and not blather in a study that means nothing. From the beginning, I said I have no interest in having just a group discussion. I want the people who know what the real problems are and the real solutions to have a discussion that's going to lead to an objective finding of what we need to do.
So is the Suicide Commission bill related to bullying and the same?
I'll have to check. We did something last year on bullying. That may be coming up against in terms of what you're referencing, but the Suicide Prevention Commission is very much involved with the children, and a big part of what they're enduring, why their suicides is on the increase, is due to bullying. And that's a big part of the Suicide Prevention Commission.
Senator, we do a lot of work with co-parenting at our firm, and we know also that there is a big correlation between how, shared parenting or co-parenting, if it's completely animus, if it's, high conflict, it really affects the children. And we believe, and we've seen numbers to substantiate this belief, that the suicide attempts and the depression and anxiety among young people, it's on the rise because of not only the bullying and the cyberbullying and all of that, but the level of acrimony between the parents. That doesn't help. And that has been a passion of mine for years. And especially now, as you said, with the suicide rates increasing so astronomically, I wish there were more that could be done relative to, from a legal standpoint. Right now, we have in our judgments or post judgments, no disparagement, that doesn't really get you very far. And, the flip-flopping between, houses and, having parents fight over, not letting the kids bring their backpack or clothes to the other parent. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And have you in your career now as a senator seen anything of that nature to try to help promulgate better relations between co-parents?
It's something I worked very hard on in the House. I'm very familiar with parental alienation that you're describing, where a parent is disparaging the other parent. I tried to get that condemned and failed to condemn parental alienation. Goes back to exactly what we were talking about before. How many people say that parental alienation doesn't occur? No one. How many people say that it's a good thing? No one. Condemning it, couldn't get it passed. I had a bill to start when two loving, caring, fit parents, and I emphasize word fit parents, both love and want to spend time with their children, that the beginning point of the decision would be some form of equal time to the best you can do it. If one's not close and they're out of the area, it wouldn't work. But assuming they're close, they both want time with the kids, they're both fit. That I almost got through, and then powerful forces came sweeping in and defeated it. A lot of it came down to misinformation. Well, let me put it accurate, lies about what was in the bill. I put in there very specifically that if the judge had a notion that there was domestic violence, a feeling, preponderant of the evidence, one seed on the scale more likely of the feeling with no evidence, that undone did the presumption. I heard that every kind of scurrilous lie about that this mandates and handcuffs the judge and they can't take domestic violence into consideration. When every person saying that knew specifically exactly what was in the language of the bill. Again, it goes back to that same problem of we did a poll of 1,000 people by a reputable firm that we said we do not want a push poll. We want questions that the citizens of the state of Michigan would feel about this, and they were very objective. We showed them to every single person who we showed the poll to, which polled 83% of the people in the state of Michigan support a shared parenting concept, similar to what we were introducing. But again, it doesn't take many people of massive power to come in and cut the legs out from underneath a bill that the majority of the people support.
Mm-hmm. Hugh, would you like to add to that?
I know that happens. I've seen it. I was involved in some local politics myself for a while, so I get that. But it still boggles my mind that when there's something that seems that important and that supported by the populace, who would oppose it? Why does that get opposed? And I don't know the answer to that one. Like you said, you got things that have passed unanimously on the floor, but then they get stymied in a committee somewhere. Why? Why does that happen?
I can tell you in this case, the big dog was members of the judiciary who, even though there almost was no change in the way they would make a decision. Okay, the starting point is essentially shared parenting in terms of the time, could be undone by preponderance of the evidence, which means just a feeling, which is kind of the way it is today. The difference is the judge would have to write the reason why. They didn't want to have to write the reason why, because let's say in a county and you have 20 judges and 18 of them 70% of their cases are some kind of a shared parenting arrangement. And one judge is 5%. And the judge had written in the 5%, well, I had a feeling. Now there's a paper trail that the judge would have to face in an election. So that paper trail is what they objected to. But I thought, no, if we're going to say you can just do it on a feeling, you're going to have to write why. That was the problem. And there was a lot of power behind the opposition at that point.
I'd like to go back a little bit to the Suicide Commission bill, because, I believe that that's just such a important bill that needs to be passed. And I know it's Senate Bill 228, as you said, and I'm reading a little bit on what you said before, how that one of the reasons is obviously because of the devastation and the huge spike in suicides within our state as well as nationally. And under the bill, the commission would, and I'm going to just read from something that was just pulled. Work with state departments and agencies and nonprofit organizations to study the causes and possible underlying factors of suicide in Michigan. Within 6 months, it would prepare and present a preliminary report of those findings and recommendations to the legislature. And stop me if I'm saying something that's not correct. Within 1 year, prepare an updated report, including information on existing evidence-based programs for suicide prevention in the state, and annually review and update the recommendations and prove a process for state coordination on suicide prevention. Suicide is the leading cause of death among 10 to 34-year-olds nationally, and is a public health crisis. So Jim, I applaud you, Mr. Runestad, Senator Runestad, for doing this, for trying to push this through. And I am just so pleased that you are a senator here in our state trying to push through these very, very important laws. So,
you know, I appreciate that. I also have to say that the leadership that I have currently in the House and in the Senate, because it has to go through the House and the Senate, and they have made sure I got through that Suicide Prevention Commission, that I got through Resolution G that we're all going to be voting on, this bill on the nursing home video cameras. I know there's a lot of pressure that they face. The pressure I face, it's the pressure they face. And I have to really appreciate that I have leadership that's going to get the same knocks on the doors, the same complaints, and to help me get this through. So I don't want to leave them out, because they could easily have stopped these things, and they have helped me get them through. So again, we got that bill on the Resolution G we're all going to be voting on. That got put right on the floor. Didn't have to go through committee, because it had to happen that day, and Lee Chatfield did that. So I want to thank them for helping me get these through despite the pressures.
Well, Senator, explain for our viewers the process then. So where would a potential new law start?
You could either come up with your own, you could get it from a constituent, or you could have a department hand it to you, or a lobbyist hand it to you. I can tell you in my 6 years, very seldom do I get, I'm trying to think if I ever had a department or a lobbyist ever hand me a bill. I can't remember one. Those are the easiest, because there's usually a lot of work that's been done. There's been a lot of meetings that occurred beforehand. So sometimes those bills are slam dunk, or you're part of a package that a lot of other people did work on, and you get added to it. The ones that I have done are usually things I have a passion about and really want to work on, that I think will make a difference for the state, people of the state of Michigan. But when you're going it alone and you're drafting it with your legal team that you have at the Senate, it's a lot more work. You have to go through a lot more hoops, particularly if it's something that hasn't been done in another state. So you're creating the brand new wheel. You're not taking someone else's wheel. And that's just a tremendous amount of work. But I find those the most rewarding and the hardest, but the most rewarding when you finally get them through.
And you said that for Senate Bill 77, now the voters in November will be voting on that?
77 has passed unanimously out of the Senate. It is over in the House. The chair is Kathy Crawford, that's in the Families Committee. I just had a meeting with her recently. She's 100% supporting. It's just a matter of getting, it's very difficult now in terms of the time, but I'm absolutely convinced it will have a hearing in October or November. I'm convinced it'll pass unanimous out of Families, unanimous out of the House, and then go to the governor. And I haven't heard opposition from the governor. I hope there's not. I mean, it's bipartisan. Advocate on behalf of it.
That would be great. Yeah. And what should we be looking out for this November for the ballots in terms of anything that you are passionate about in terms of any new laws or regulations or amendments or, anything of that sort, without getting political.
Yeah, there's only two ballot proposals statewide. One of them is mine that says that in order for authorities to access your electronic communications and data, your phone, your computers, they have to have a warrant. That passed 75% of the people in Missouri and 82% of the people in New Hampshire. I believe it's going to get at least 80% here in the state of Michigan. The other one is concerning the Natural Resource Trust Fund. Currently, the majority of the money has to be for purchasing new property. This change would say a lot more can go to maintenance. I frankly still have to study that a little bit more in terms of where I stand. I'm not right now opposed or supporting. I just need to study it. I would urge your listeners to do the same.
I do have a question on the one about the police officer, the authorities' ability to harvest your data. Would that also include cell phone conversations that are out in space, so they can't just tap into your cell phone and listen to the conversation like they can do now, correct?
Yeah, they're supposed to have a warrant to tap your cell phone. I mean, they're absolutely supposed to. Now, there was a Supreme Court case about almost 20 years ago where they had devices where they could tap your phone, and that was ruled illegal. They also had one where they were putting GPSs on cars, and that was ruled illegal. And one of the comments I heard when I was having a hearing on committee on this is, well, why don't we just adjudicate all these? Okay, so the authorities begin to violate your rights, and they do that until they get caught. Then it goes into the court, and it works its way up to the Supreme Court over 20 years. And then all these rights are violated, and then they come up with a new device, and you got to whack that mole and whack this mole and whack. I mean, no, let's just make sure they're not going to be violating our rights. So this is something that I have no doubt is going to pass overwhelmingly by the people of the state of Michigan.
Go ahead. Were you going to ask something right now?
I think it will as well. I mean, I think it's a great proposal that long overdue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Senator, with respect to the nursing home bill and the cameras in the nursing home, how soon do you think that will be effective? And we have a viewer asking, how soon can the cameras be put in?
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time.
How soon? We have a viewer asking relative to the nursing home cameras inside the rooms of the residents of their families. How soon do you think that will be effective? When can they start using this and putting cameras in?
I'll have to take a look at whether we're going to get immediate effect on it in terms of it coming out of the House. If not, it would be 90 days after the beginning of next year. So whether it's given immediate effect or not is something I'm not sure. Hopefully it will be given immediate effect. I believe the hearing in the committee in the House will be in October or November. I believe it will pass out of the House, out of the committee, go right to the floor, pass out of the floor. So it should be to the governor sometime in November or potentially December. When the governor signs that, if it has immediate effect, it will immediately go into effect that individuals can now put these in legally in all of the rooms. If it's not given immediate effect, it'd be 90 days after the beginning of next year.
Are there any other bills that you're trying to get passed right now that you would like to discuss?
There is another one of these bills that I work on, feel like a Don Quixote on some of these. There's a bill that I've had a hearing on. It is to require that if a court takes video footage of their proceedings, that has to be made available at $10 to the public, and hedged for inflation if inflation goes up. But that is exempted in special cases where the judge feels like, let's say you have a young victim testifying about sexual assault, that the police officers say we have a informant that we don't want any images of. There's things like that that would be excluded that do make sense. But other than that, the public would then have the right to get the videos of all their proceedings. And in Oakland County, you're not able to get those proceedings. And to me, it's completely wrong. The comments I hear is, well, you can get the transcripts. That is comical. If you've ever thought about people having discussions and comments and sentences and words, the emphasis you put on a word could change the sentence entirely. That doesn't come across in a transcript. I've also heard where there's a lot of mischief that goes on with a transcript. If that transcriber doesn't put it in there, it's gone as far as the public knows. So I believe it's absolutely essential. We had a hearing. We seem to have a lot of support. And then now I hear we're having a lot of problems coming from different areas. So again, it's something that would be transparency for the public. The public would support this. I'll bet you 90+%. And I'm running across problems again already. So this is what I have to go through constantly. I have 2 more years. If I get elected, I'll have another 4 years to continue the battle. I will continue it next year if I can't get it through this year.
Why is this something that has come up since COVID? Because typically courtrooms are accessible to the public, unless, of course, it's one of those special circumstances that you mentioned. But now with everything being online, our video conferences with courts and the judges, is this something that is new, or have you always, or have you for the last while now been trying to push this bill through?
For 4 years. So no, it's,
okay.
Yeah, it's not for me something that had to do with the COVID. As soon as the COVID is over, I rather suspect we'll go back to doing business the way we used to. It is more about transparency and having the public say, I feel that that there was an injustice done. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the tape and you see the way comments were made, tone of voice, this or that, or there was ordered that this be done in this case, and then it was not done. But look at the video. Maybe that wasn't included in the transcript. I'm telling you, I've heard all kinds of issues like this. Why would the Supreme Court be taping an appeals court, but local circuit and district courts, the lower levels, can't have tape recordings that are accessible to the public? To me, it's just it's inappropriate, and it's got to change. But I think it's going to be, unfortunately, quite a while to get to that point.
Well, I think it's also that goes along the lines of what we discussed earlier, and the checks and balances and the balancing act. And there is a lot of bad behavior by the bench or by some attorneys or even some clients, and it's important to have that documented sometimes. And perhaps it would, improve some of this behavior. I know with some of the Zoom conferences, that was available via YouTube, and the public could watch some of the hearings that the judges were conducting and the lawyers were conducting into some courtrooms. So I find that interesting now that you're getting some pushback on that.
Yeah, like I said, and none of these things that have opposition on the other side are ever going to be easy. They're going to be a lot of work. I appreciate the chair of Judiciary who had the hearing. I appreciate, I tell you, this session for me has been, frankly, it's been successful. I've had support from leadership on some of these things, and I know it's tough on them because there is pressures that are very powerful, and I have to hand it to them because a committee chair could just say, I'm not taking it up. No one's going to know. There's nothing you could do. You're toast. But Senator Lucido, as chair of Judiciary, he had the hearing. He supports the bill. I think if I can get it through, I think that we will have support from leadership. And that's really the important thing, is that from on high, they have to say, listen, this is the right thing to do, and this is what we're going to make happen. And with that, I see I've got another Zoom I have to get on, so okay. I'm going to have to sign off. But I really appreciate your show. I think you ask great questions, and hopefully your viewers learned something.
Thank you so much, Senator. We're so grateful for the time that you've spent today, and we wish you all the best with getting these bills passed. Thank you so much for all your hard work, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. And there you have it. That was a great, interesting 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes he was able to spend with us. And, you know, Hugh, it's interesting because the only argument that I could see, one of the only, I shouldn't say only, one of the many perhaps, that the opposition relative to video, having videotaping available would be the privacy aspect. You know, when patients see a doctor, that's not videotaped. But that obviously the counter argument is, well, we're not videotaping the private conversations between client and lawyer. It's just more in the public forum of a hearing. Is that, you know, what you're thinking too, or?
Well, to an extent, but at the same time, and like you said earlier, Sabrina, the courtroom and court proceedings are supposed to be open to the public, and they always have been. Pre-COVID, anybody could walk into a trial or a motion hearing and sit down and watch them. Mm-hmm. And this just makes it more transparent. And I know you and I have actually had some difficulty recently where a proceeding was recorded video, and we requested the video, and we were told we can't have it. We had to wait for the court reporter to watch the video themselves, then write the transcript, you know, type out the transcript, which again didn't, like he was saying, didn't encompass everything. It doesn't tell you everything that's going on.
Right.
And one of the things I think that would be good about that is what transcripts don't record and what you can't in a transcript is what the other people might be doing during that testimony. I mean, I find it, you know, especially with a jury or even a judge, can be swayed by somebody sitting at the table's reactions or actions while somebody else is testifying. And you can't get that in the transcript. And I think that is important for people to see. Absolutely.
And body language and body behavior. And, you know, I had years ago to pull a video camera footage of, the other side and how they were behaving. And, you know, they're saying one thing and they're obviously the evidence shows the other. And that's why it's so important now with all these Zoom hearings. And, you know, especially if someone wants a fair trial, to wait until you have an in-person jury trial. It's, you know, other than that, I think clients need to have an in-person trial. If it's a jury, especially, you need to be able to, the attorney needs to be able to get up there and get in the witness's face and talk to the witness and see their hands and their body language. And, you know, that's all very important as well.
I absolutely agree with that one. And like I said, there's no, and I think COVID, one of the good things that happens, we've talked about some good things that have come out of COVID. And I think one of them is the fact that a lot of courts now have that video capability where they might not have had them before. Now There's no excuse for it. And there's no, they all have the capability of doing the video and recording it. There's no reason why that can't be made available to the public. There's just not.
I agree. Hugh, I want to thank you so much for being on with me today and with Senator Runestad. Thank you so much for your time. And would you like to say a little, you know, something to our viewers today? A little something.
Take away from today, I guess, is, you know, we had a great guest on, and as he stated, you know, don't be afraid to make that call, email, or whatever you need to do. Send a letter, even in the mail to your representatives to let them know what you support and what you don't support and how important that is. I mean, he was talking about how he has no doubt that this bill about the cameras in the nursing home is going to be unanimously passed in the House, but he's still encouraging you to call up your representative and tell them, hey, get this passed. So, I mean, I think that is important. Let your voice be heard, not just on Election Day.
Thank you, Hugh. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
And with that, I just wanted to encourage all of you to do exactly as Hugh said. Get out, get your voices heard. And as Senator Runestad said, you know, put some action behind your emotion, behind your belief system, behind your wanting to make a change. Don't just talk about it. Try to do something. Like Hugh said, send letters to your state representatives. Send an email. Send something letting them know what you believe in, what you want. And your voice is important and that matters. And as I always say with the firm, your voice matters to the firm. It matters to us. And we are here to help you be that voice and to be that strength when you cannot do that for yourselves. We are here for you 24/7. I can't express that enough. These shows are for you, expressing all of our knowledge and our wisdom and our opinions from time to time is helpful for you. And if you have any other questions and we weren't able to answer them today, please call or text us anytime at 248-258-3500. We will sit with you complimentary. We will talk with you. We will answer any questions that you have anytime. And we just want you to know that your voices are heard. And that being said, I'm so excited for next Tuesday. We have a great guest on our Cronin Challenge2Change show. And it's also in continuation of October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So our special guest is Kevin Browett. He's the CEO and president of Renaissance Media Solutions, which is also published Scene magazine, the Detroit Jewish Foundation, as well as the Indian Scene magazine. So he will share his personal connection with cancer, his involvement with our local American Cancer Society, and he is also this year's ambassador to Real Men Wear Pink. And he will share his story and his challenges and also hopefully provide you with some much needed motivation and inspiration that the show is definitely hoping to provide for you. That's a passion of mine to help you out, help not just during this COVID unique time that we're in, but always. So check us out on our YouTube page, on our podcast, and continue to check us out regularly. Thank you again for watching. Like our page, and I'm here for you. My team is here for you. Thank you so much, and keep your spirits high. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.